Eternal Lessons. Back to school, a matter of life and death. The beginning of the school year at Crestwood High was remarkably typical. Students shuffled nervously for the start of the new school year, excitedly exchanging summer stories or nervously clutching their schedules. This year, however, there was an unusual buzz in the air. There was a new history teacher, Mr. Victor Draven. No one seemed to know much about him personally, and his chiseled features gave him a timeless, almost Greek god-like appearance. His clothing was impeccably tailored, giving him a refined elegance that seemed out of place in the modern small-town high school. Rumors quickly spread among the students. Some said he was a former university professor, while others speculated he was a world traveler with countless stories to tell. On his first day, Draven stood at the front of the classroom surveying his new students. The room was filled with the typical hum of teenage chatter, quickly dying down as he began to speak. "Good morning, class. I am Mr. Draven, and I will be your history teacher this year. History is not just a subject to be studied. It is a story that has to be lived. I encourage you to see it not as a series of dates and events, but as the tapestry of experiences by people just like you." His voice was calm and authoritative, carrying the weight of self-assurance. The students listened in rapt attention, captivated by his presence. Among the sea of faces was Reese Turner, a 17-year-old senior with a quick smile and easygoing demeanor. Reese had always been a good student, not particularly passionate about history, though. Something about Draven's teaching style intrigued him, and he thought he may actually like the class this year. As the class sped by, Reese found himself more and more captivated by Draven's lesson. The teacher spoke with such vivid detail and passion about historical events that it was as if he had been there. Draven's heartfelt tales of ancient battles, political intrigues, and cultural shifts brought history to life in a way that no textbook ever could. His classroom was filled with artifacts from different eras, each piece meticulously placed to complement the lesson, and more they were to soon learn about. Maps of ancient empires adorned the walls, and old manuscripts sat in glass cases, inviting curious minds to imagine. One afternoon, near the end of the semester, Reese came into history class late and flung his bag down with a thud that echoed through the now silent room. Shock was on everyone's face except for Mr. Draven, who held more of a curious expression. Reese huffed and turned his back to the class and teacher, staring out the window while Draven resumed teaching. Reese listened only half-heartedly, his interest gone. When a hand gently landed on his shoulder, Reese's response was immediate and intense. He grabbed the hand and twisted, causing the guy that had been at the desk next to his to yelp in pain. Releasing the hand immediately, Reese frowned and growled. "Mr. Turner," called out Draven sharply, "may I ask what's going on?" "He made the mistake of touching me," Reese muttered, turning back to the windows. "Mr. Simmons, please head down to the nurse's office to get your wrist looked at," Draven said softly. "As for you, Reese, you will stay after, and we will speak more on this." Reese shrugged. As the final bell rang, Draven approached Reese, who was hurriedly gathering his things. "Mr. Turner, we need to talk." Reese looked up, surprised at his tone. "I guess, Mr. Draven." Draven led him to an empty classroom and shut the door. The room was bathed in the soft glow of the late afternoon sun, casting long shadows on the walls. "What's going on, Reese?" Draven began. "You've been missing classes, and when you do attend, you're withdrawn and unfocused." Reese hesitated, then sighed deeply, deciding to tell him the truth. "I found out I have cancer. It's advanced, and the doctors say there's nothing they can do. I only have a year or two to live." He shrugged. Draven's eyes softened with the sadness that came from personal experience, witnessing human suffering. "I'm so sorry, Reese. That is a heavy burden to carry." Reese's eyes filled with tears at the unexpected compassion. "I don't know what to do. I'm scared, and my mom is a wreck. I can't think about anything else." Draven placed a comforting hand on Reese's shoulder. "You're not alone in this, Reese. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. And if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know." The room was silent for a moment. Draven's mind raced as he considered the implications of this new revelation. As the final bell rang, signaling the end of the school day, Draven decided to give the teen a ride home. He was hoping to talk to his mom and get the whole picture. As the months passed, Draven was an ever-present pillar of support to Reese and his mother, offering guidance and a listening ear. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, Reese accepted Draven's invitation to visit his home after school for the tutoring to bring back up his lacking grade. It was a stately old mansion on the outskirts of town, surrounded by towering oak trees and a wrought iron fence. The house itself was impressive. It was the perfect home for a history teacher. "Wow, this place is amazing," Reese said, looking around in awe as they stepped inside. The interior of the mansion was just as impressive as the exterior. High ceilings with intricate moldings, rich hardwoods, and an eclectic collection of artifacts from different different eras were displayed in the rooms. With the faint smell of old books and polished wood filling the air, it gave the house a warm, inviting atmosphere. Draven smiled. "Thank you. I've collected many things over my travels." While Draven prepared tea in the kitchen, Reese wandered into the study. His eyes were drawn to an old leather-bound scrapbook on a mahogany bookshelf tucked in between King Arthur and Cleopatra. Curiosity getting the better of him, he took it off the shelf and opened it, immediately flipping through the pages. There were news clippings, some dating back over a century. Each article mentioned a man named Victor or Draven. As he turned the page, he was confronted with a photo. It was his history teacher. As he flipped through the pages, it was full of stories and photos, all of Mr. Draven. Reese's heart raced. Could it be? He turned to the last photo, taken just a few years ago. It was unmistakably the man in the next room. "Reese," Draven's voice called from the doorway, startling him. "I see you found my scrapbook." Reese looked up, his face pale. "Mr. Draven, how? How is this possible? These photos, they're all you." Draven sighed, frowning, and walked over, taking the scrapbook gently from Reese's hands. "There's something you need to know about me, Reese. I'm much older than I appear. The reason I teach history is because I've lived most of it. I'm a vampire." Reese's eyes widened in shock. "A vampire? But how? Why are you here?" "I've lived for many centuries, watching it all pass by. I became a teacher to share my knowledge and to find some kind of purpose for this long existence," Draven explained. Reese was silent for a moment, trying to process the revelation. "So you've seen all this history because you were there?" "Yes," Draven nodded, "and I've seen many people come and go, many lives touched by tragedy and joy." "How can you walk around during the day?" he asked. "Well, I'm old enough that UV light can't penetrate the thickness of my skin," he replied. The study walls seemed to close in as the reality of Draven's words sunk in. The fire crackled softly in the fireplace, casting eerie shadows on each surface of the room, adding to the surreal atmosphere of the moment. Over the next few weeks, Reese and Draven's bond grew stronger. Draven shared that he fed off animals in the area, not people, to put his student's mind at ease. Reese confided in Draven about his fears and his hopes, and in return, Draven told stories from his long life and experiences. The idea of becoming a vampire was never discussed, but it lingered in the back of Reese's mind. One evening, after another grueling hospital visit, Reese and his mother Danica sat down with Draven in his home. The warm amber glow of the fire in the fireplace illuminated the room, creating an intimate and personal atmosphere. "Mr. Draven, Reese has told me everything," Danica said, her voice trembling, "about you, what you are." Draven nodded, his expression serious. He had expected this. "I understand if you have questions or concerns." Danica took a deep breath, shaking her head. "Reese is dying. The doctors have given him only months. I don't want to lose my son, but I don't know what to do." Reese looked at Draven, his eyes filled with desperation. "Is there any way you can help me? Can you turn me?" Draven sighed, having seen this might be brought up, the weight of the discussion heavy on his shoulders. "It is not a choice to be made lightly. Becoming a vampire means giving up your mortal life, your future, your family. You will live forever, but at a cost." Danica's eyes filled with tears. "I just want my son to live." Draven placed a hand on her shoulder. "If this is truly what you both want, I can turn Reese, but we must wait until he is 18 and he graduates. It must be his decision, and he must be a legal adult. Even I have rules I must follow." Reese nodded. "I understand. I want to live, and I want to learn from you, Mr. Draven. I want to see the world as you have." As the room fell silent, the gravity of the situation settled over them. The crackling of the fire was the only sound in the room. Draven's centuries of wisdom and experience were now poised to change Reese's life forever. Graduation day came and went, and as Reese's 18th birthday approached, Draven prepared for the ritual. The mansion was quiet. The only sound was the soft rustling of trees outside. Reese arrived with Danica, who was visibly nervous and scared. She hugged her son tightly, whispering words of love and encouragement. "Be strong, Reese. I believe in you." Reese smiled. "I will, Mom. Thank you for everything." Draven stepped forward, his expression solemn. "Are you ready, Reese?" Reese took a deep breath and nodded. "Yes, I'm ready." Draven led Reese to a large chair in the center of the room. He gently tilted Reese's head to the side, his fangs extending. "This will hurt, but only for a moment." Reese braced himself as Draven's fangs pierced his neck. The pain was intense, a searing heat that spread through his veins. He clenched his fists, struggling to remain still. Just as the pain became unbearable, it was over. Draven then made a small cut on his own wrist, allowing his blood to flow into a chalice. "Drink, Reese. Drink and become one of us." Reese hesitated for a moment, then took the chalice and drank deeply. Blood's metallic taste filled his mouth, and he felt a strange, powerful sensation coursing through his body. His vision blurred, and he felt an overwhelming rush of energy. The pain disappeared, replaced by a sense of invincibility. Danica watched with bated breath, her hands clasped tightly together. When it was over, Draven stepped back, and Reese sat up slowly, his eyes now glowing with a faint, otherworldly light. "How do you feel?" Draven asked. Reese smiled, his new fangs glistening in the candlelight. "I feel alive, but exhausted." Reese's eyes slid closed as the changes used all his energy, and he couldn't stay awake. "Is he all right?" asked Danica. Draven nodded. "He's fine, but you may want to leave now," he warned. "Reese is going to wake up extremely hungry." As reality dawned on her face, she nodded quickly and made her way to the door, letting herself out. Adjusting to his new life as a vampire was challenging for Reese. The world seemed different, sharper, more vibrant. He had to learn to control his newfound strength, abilities, and especially his hunger. The mansion became a haven for Reese. Draven was a patient and wise mentor. One evening, as they sat in the study, Reese asked, "What do we do now, Mr. Draven?" Draven smiled, his eyes twinkling. "Now we live. We explore the world. There is so much to see and do, Reese. You have all of eternity ahead of you. I can't wait." Together they planned their first journey, a trip through Europe to explore its rich history and culture. They discussed their itinerary late into the night, the study filled with maps and books detailing the places they would visit. Before they left, Reese and Draven had one final conversation with Danica. She hugged her son tightly, tears streaming down her face. "Promise me you'll come back and visit," she whispered. Reese hugged her back, his heart aching. "I promise, Mom." As they departed, Draven turned to Danica. "I will take care of him, Danica. You have my word." She nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude and sorrow. "Thank you, Mr. Draven. Please keep him safe." With that, Reese and Draven set off on their journey, the world stretching out before them, traveling through ancient cities along the streets of Rome, Paris, and London. As the years passed, Reese realized that his new life was truly a gift, and they were ready for the challenges that lay ahead. Thanks for listening. Please support the channel by liking and subscribing. Have a great day.